I don't think I ever imagined it would be as bad as this, but absolutely I thought something like this could happen. Certainly, subsequent to that, in journalism, I was writing that the temptation to seize contiguous territory, to join Crimea, to Donbass, to take the Sea of Azov, all that was quite possible, but the scale of this now. It's the same signs that he's displayed over the past few months were always there, but they weren't there quite as in quite as much focus. I've always thought of him as a Russian nationalist. I've always been aware that, as far as he was concerned, the USSR was, he's quoted as saying, it was another name for Russia, and that the fall of the Soviet Union was one of the, it's often misquoted, it's the greatest catastrophe, it's not one of the greatest catastrophes of the 20th century. And other things, such as I was always aware that he appears to buy into this concept of Moscow being the third Rome. And when you put it all together, and you realize that he's, you know, the vicious gangster character that he is, it makes sense to believe that he will take actions which we find unpalatable. Oh, and lastly, I should say, there's too many people in Western Europe that don't believe that when men of violence say things, they mean what they say. But they do, often. Well, in some ways, and I don't defend it, in some ways it's a much more realistic view than most people in Western Europe have had for the past 50 years. Much of the intellectual class in Western Europe had this ridiculous idea that there was no place for war in the 21st century.
Yes.
As opposed to there should be no place for war in the 21st century, which is two different things. And I think they've had a wake-up call. It's very sad. Russia has never thought like that. And Russia is very aware that violence is a tool of policy. And, you know, the collective memory, I believe, is a thing. And in Europe, our collective memory of the shock of World War II to us is the result is the European Union, to make sure it doesn't happen again, which I think is a very good idea. The Russian view of the shock of World War II and World War I and Napoleon is to seek dominance, not unity or friendship. No, war and then compromise is the way to solve this problem. And that's what's happening.
The negotiations.
Pardon?
The negotiations, yes.
Yeah, war and negotiations.
Okay.
So, because it has started.
Yes.
And war is a form of negotiation. So both sides are trying to get as much as they can through fighting now, at the same time as some sort of track is going on for negotiations. So, for example, if Russia, as it will, does take Mariupol, they're at the center now, at that point, they hold the whole of the coastline of the Sea of Azov. So they would like to win that before compromise. And Ukraine would like, I'm trying to think of something they need, everything.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, and Ukraine is also trying to have
as much possible. Yes.
So that so that if the compromise comes in negotiations, you're in a stronger position. Sanctions is much more down the line, where you have shown Russia the long-term consequences of its actions. And in the medium term, you do disrupt their ability to reinforce and replenish and fight.